Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Carvel Office Hours. It's a special edition where we're actually taking the full hour to do just sort of a working group type of session, which we'll go over in a minute. Just a reminder to please adhere and abide by, read and abide by our code of conduct listed out here in the agenda when you're attending the Carvel Office Hours. These meetings are being recorded and uploaded to our YouTube playlist within 48 hours of them being recorded. If you're watching this from home, we would love to have you join us live. We meet every second and fourth Thursday of the month at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. And if you aren't able to make it to the office hours, we do also meet every Monday for Carvel community meeting. And that is at the same time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. And for today's agenda, I'm going to actually kick it off over to Joao, who is a maintainer on the Carvel tool suite, and have him go over what he would like for this particular session.
Cool. Thank you, Nancy. So as you all know, we've been walking this path with the proposal for to having the ability to rename images while copying. So currently, image package. So this is for image package. Sorry, I forgot to say that to start off. So basically, image package, when it copies images from one registry to another registry, it copies all the images associated with the bundle into the same repository inside the new registry. So all the images are part of the same repository. And we realized that that causes some problems to our users. So what this proposal is trying to address is precisely that, giving the ability to the users that are doing this copy to select how they want their images to be placed on the destination registry. So, so this is broad strokes what this proposal is about. And we've been doing some feedback on it for more than a month now. And there are there were like one major feedback portion of it that was that the language on the proposal was in some spots confusing, and we are using the same words to mean different things in different places. And this is like an interesting topic because in the OCI spec, there's not really a terminology section where we can just piggyback. So we're just a little bit going with the flow and see what people like to call things. Or like some people like to refer repositories to a thing. Other people like to talk about it in a different way. So this wasn't part of the feedback that we rewrote basically the majority of the proposal itself to try to address this and see if it makes if it is more coherent right now. So that's the first part that I'd like to get some feedback on. And then the second part that I'd like to talk is a different proposal of how we are doing strategies. But before we do that, I'm not sure if everybody had time to read through the proposal. So I am so sorry for the people in YouTube right now, but I'm going to propose that we use 10 minutes of our time now to read through the proposal. So everybody has some time. So this is not prime entertainment moment right now, but so use 10 minutes to read through the proposal. The proposal is very big. It's not going to go, I'm not sure if it's going to be possible for y'all to read it from one point to another in 10 minutes, but in the end, that'll be more or less the idea. And then we can start talking about it to see if there's some feedback on it. I see there's a hand raised. John?
Yeah, I just had a suggestion that maybe we can pause the recording to save our friends on YouTube for just this time. And it's a quiet time. And then when we are ready to talk again, we can we can hit play. Would that work?
So I was just gonna trim that portion out whenever I get the download.
Cool. If you're willing to do the edit. Thanks, Nancy. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Cool. So let's do that. So it's 40 minutes after the hour. So in 10 minutes, so 10 minutes to the hour, let's come back and see if y'all are okay and ready. Okay, so I believe we all reviewed the proposal. So let me just maybe walk you a little bit on the proposal. Maybe we should have done this before, but let's just go through a little bit of it, and then let's open it up for feedback to see if anyone has any feedback. So in the beginning, there's some problem statements, some quotes from some of our users to try to frame a little bit more the problem that we have, and then the part that we are going to address with this, like the feedback that we're going to get now, it's really more concerned with the terminology and concepts and how are they being applied. So there are like some major changes here where like there's a new image to try to depict a little bit better what we're going to refer to in each of the terms. And then this part in here is also a little bit different, where we have like some more information about which term are we using in each context. And roughly the proposal, in terms of the proposal in itself, not much, there weren't like a lot of changes for the proposal, but the text of it is different. So that might cause some discrepancies. So some goals. The main purpose, as I said, is to create a way. The main purpose of this proposal is to create a way for people to be able to rename images as a copy. So we're introducing this new concept of a copy config, that it is a file that will be provided to image package that will contain the strategy that is going to be used to do this renaming, plus overrides that the user might want to do in the moment. So, and then we have some explanation on some of the copy strategies that we think that might be interesting. So we depicted 4 of them here. It doesn't mean that we're going to implement them all right away, or that we're going to implement them all at all, but we're going to implement the ones that we believe are more used. Because in the end, you could use always the overrides to accomplish the other strategies and the strategy that you want. But having this particular strategy that fits your needs, it's much easier, because then you can just provide the strategy name and go for it. So one of the strategies is the current strategy of image package, where every OCI image is copied into the same repository as the bundle. So if you say this is the repository that we're going to copy the bundle to, it copies all the images into that repository. And then there's some information about it, about how this would work. So the other one is copy all the OCI images to the new registry, and all paths are relative to the bundle namespace, and it keeps the image namespace. So this is a very, very big name, because in the end it does a lot of things. So it copies the OCI images to all the place. Like there's an example here where if, for example, our bundle is going to be placed in, where is it? Here, my private registry.io/my name/bundle. What happens is that all the images on this particular strategy will be copied underneath this namespace here, my name, and it will keep all the namespaces that are from the image, the original image. So for example, an example here, the origin.io/sound/path/my image will be copied into the bundle namespace plus registry plus the original namespace from the image and also the image name. So the next strategy is copying the OCI images to a new registry, and all the paths are relative to the bundle namespace. So it is similar to the above, the prior one that we just talked about. The only difference is that the namespace of the OCI images is not kept. So everything will go underneath the same namespace as the bundle. So again, the same example here, my name bundle. So my private registry.io, my name bundle. So if when you copy this image that contains a namespace, that namespace is removed and it's not kept. So the other strategy is, see.
You had scrolled past it.
Yeah, I scrolled past through it, didn't I?
It was the first one. You scrolled past the first one.
All right.
That's not the single repo strategy.
Relative to keeping bundle, relative, this one? Which one did I pass through?
Yeah, I think that's.
Oh, there you go.
relative to
Yes,
registry.
that's the relative to the registry. So this one here is, even though you're copying your bundle to this particular namespace inside your registry, it doesn't, image package doesn't, when copying the other images, it just keeps the original namespace. So that's basically the more direct translation, is just replacing the registry. So these are more or less the strategies that we thought that could be interesting to implement. And we'll go through them a little bit more, not go through them, but just there are some implementation like order that we think we should implement them on, but I'm not sure if we should tackle that right now. So there's like some information about the overrides, how the overrides work. The part that eventually might cause some confusion is this bit here, where if you start when you're doing an override, let me try to fetch an example of an override. So this is an override, and on our destination, if we add a slash in the beginning, it means that it is here. This OCI image will be copied to the registry.io/here. While if you do not, like in this case, you do not provide a slash in the beginning, it will assume that the namespace that you want to put the image in is the same as the bundle. So it starts on the bundle namespace. So this is more or less to mimic what you have in the command line. It's the same behavior as in the file system. So this part might need a little bit. I added here a little bit because this note, just to make sure that we had some documentation around this, is because this might be a nuanced use case. So there are some matchers, and these matchers that are here are the same ones that we have in kbuild. We're trying to keep the same naming so that people, when they go through tool to tool, they know what to expect with each matcher. So you have an exact matcher that you put an image on it, and then we have a matcher that matches on registry and or repository, depending on what you provide. So this is also new. At least the prior version, it matched on registry and repo and repository, but that's not the behavior we have in kbuild, so we have a little bit of a description of that. And so those are the two matchers that we have. Another point here is that the first, even if you have two matchers that match the same image, the first one takes precedence. That's basically it. So if it matches again, it doesn't really matter. there's an advanced matching scenario where we'll allow the user to use a Starlark function or YTT Starlark functions to do the same strategy or to implement their own strategies instead of having to be implemented via code. And then there's some functions that are helpers for that. So just gonna go scroll past that. There are some considerations about the nested bundles, but this didn't change at all. So I'm just gonna skip that because we are a little bit short in time. And I think that the majority of the changes are that, oh, there's this part, the replication considerations. So we were talking about the scenario where you can replicate two registries. So registry A can be replicated to registry B without like as an internal process. So for example, if you're using Arbor, you can replicate to registry from another one. And we have some considerations here about that scenario as well, because in some situations it's possible that you can even change the name spacing where you put the images on and so on. So we have like some information about that here. And I think I'll stop here and maybe let's move into some feedback to see if there's anything that y'all, while reading this, it was confusing, or if the terms that we're using are not matching in some place. So I'll just open it up for feedback now.
My one question is, can you specify registry on destination repo?
That's a good question. And on the first initial version, yes, you could, but you can no longer. So the assumption is that, so let me scroll back to a bigger example. So let me go up to our API. So for example, like as this example, from this point on, we assume or we force you to, when you copy, you'll copy everything to the same registry to try to ensure that you don't have any problem with authentication and so on. And also, we believe that it doesn't make much sense for you to be able to, when you're copying, to spread through multiple registries the images. So that's the idea here.
Mm-hmm. Probably minor, but I could see like, I don't know where the example is, but where you have image repo and then destination repo. Like one of them has registry or is allowed to have registry, one of them's not. And
yes, definitely. The issue here is that this particular matcher here, it is the same as in Kbuild. So we could talk about like possibly changing it in here, but in the end, it would make sense also to do the change in Kbuild. But if we think it better represents what this is really trying to match, maybe we can go from there. The caveat of this matcher is that it matches on registry and or on repository, which makes it a little bit hard to name.
yeah. And I think it makes sense to have registry in there. I mean, our flag is called toRepo, and that also contains like the registry plus the repository string. So like I think that makes sense.
I was trying to go through the use cases to see where the bundle relative strategies were coming from, and I wasn't able to sort of find that. What
I
drives that?
suggested that to be included because I don't believe. So I think we have to be looking at some of these features more from a automation standpoint rather than a human standpoint. And also at the same time, we want to, retain some readable names so that human layer can go back and, look at some of this stuff, right? And so if we don't do things relative to a bundle, that means that we're implying that somebody has to be writing up this copy configs potentially specific to a registry location. Right? Like imagine if you had to write a bunch of, code, right? And everywhere where you do like a little load, right? You would actually specify an absolute path, right? From the root of the file system or something like that, right? So that's terrible, of course, because as soon as you move your entire project one directory up or whatever, all your load paths are garbage, right? Because they no longer point to anything, right? And so if we think of this as, registry APIs kind of provide us a way to, effectively organize things like we do on a file system, right? And so to me, the default behavior seems to be more correct to be relative to a bundle. So effectively be in the same namespace, because if I write one copy config and then I run it against one, this bundle over here that I'm trying to copy in one place, I should be able to take that copy config and ideally run it, against a different location. So that would be kind of baseline, right? Now there's going to be some degenerate cases of like, hey, I want to really, really have this image at the root of the registry at this particular location, right? And so that's where like the effectively the non-relative specification comes in. But yeah, so ultimately, I guess I'm suggesting that we don't look at it as you always want to start with an absolute path. We want to probably be looking at it from the common cases, always do the relative path, and then absolute path is, that's the kind of a unique use case.
Can we, or sorry, John, if you wanted to.
Yeah, just real quick. Is that captured, Joao, somewhere in one of the use cases and I just missed it? That's really valuable context. It's a good.
I don't think it is captured in the use case. I don't know if you're hearing me because I have my hand in front of the mic. Did you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, totally. Yeah, thanks, Dave. Yeah, I do think of these things as like they are a point in these proposals like are a point in time understanding, but they do capture like what are our motivations for doing things sometimes, and that seems like a durable driver. Be helpful when we're trying to remember. Now, why did we do that? We write it down.
For the names of these strategies, can we like we are introducing this concept of relative and absolute repository paths. Like, can we lean more into that in those names in like relative repo or something like that? Like, instead of, because it's not very clear like what's being kept relative to what and stuff with just like relative to bundle keep namespace. Like that's essentially just saying I want a relative repository path to my destination, and then not keeping namespace is essentially saying I want a absolute path to my repository. And then the image name is the one where you're saying is the third strategy. I forget what it is.
Is this one the relative to bundle no namespace? So no, the third you said. So this is the fourth. Relative to bundle keep namespace.
Oh no, I think it is that last one. Whatever one's using like the image name to yeah, like that's just a relative image name or something like that. Like I think if we're introducing this idea of relative and absolute repository paths, it could be nice to sort of use those in our strategies and everything too.
So basically, you're saying convert this relative to bundle no namespace strategy name into relative image name.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if that fully captures it because it may
I
not be
think
like a
for
fully relative.
for alternative naming, I think I at least personally find it useful to see all strategy naming kind of laid out to compare to like the previous set of names versus trying to tweak individually, because I think they need to make sense within, you know, a set of strategies, right? Like they should be consistent between themselves, right? And so if we're kind of proposing a set of different names, at least for me, I would want to see how this, I don't know, we have 5 strategies, something like that. How do those 5 strategies, you know, get renamed so that it's consistent between them?
Yeah, I can throw a comment on it.
Cool.
Yeah, I've also found when we're trying to get to names, which is hard, that having a little bit of a naming party can be really productive. Just like in a Slack channel, people riffing off of each other and then seeing a whole bunch of stuff, or like having a document like where like the focus of what we're doing with a particular period of time is coming up with a consistent set of names. That's worked well for us in the past. So,
Cool. I can make a comment or start a Slack thread about it.
Let's add a comment, and then let's create a Slack thread pointing to that comment and have like a set of like your possibilities so that we have a connection both sides.
Makes sense. One other question I had is, are repo matchers using the same logic as like the slash versus no slash? Like if my image repo matcher has a slash in front of it, is it going to match the full thing? And if it doesn't have a slash, is it just going to match like the end of the image URL, but everything before that is the same? Or does the matcher not follow that sort of relative absolute logic? Because registry is optional in the repo matcher, right?
Yes. I think it's an exact match, but I'm not sure about this the slash in the beginning. Do you know, Dimitri, out of your head?
I mean, what they do in K-build or what they meant to do in this proposal?
Well, like the idea is that we keep them in sync. So for now, let's see what they do. If you know what it does in K-build and if it makes sense here.
Yeah, I think in K-build, you know, there's no notion of absolute versus whatever. So, you know, I think they just do an exact thing.
Okay.
One, you know, I don't know if this is appropriate time to bring this up, but one of my less favorite parts of this proposal is the override section in its entirety. And I keep on coming back trying to convince myself that we need it, but I keep failing to do that. The reason why I say that is because if we kind of again look at from the lens of, you know, nobody most likely has time to sit there and, you know, artisanally craft copy configs, right? They just probably want to have a strategy that does the right thing, right? Or the thing that, you know, that that I guess fits their, use case. And they just, use that strategy. They don't have any overrides, something like that. And, some time ago, we also said, hey, well, we can have this advanced functionality that does whatever you want it to do, right? The function, you can go crazy how you want to match it. And I think kind of reading through some of the matching logic that we have, I find it somewhat confusing. I'm sure like once you have the tool, you can kind of play around with it, you can kind of get it right. But I don't know. I don't think we should implement it. I don't think we should have overrides. I think we should just stick with, we have a preset of strategies that do the right thing for you. And we maybe even extend some of those strategies to, if we have some, demand for some special case. Like I think I actually added a comment about saying like, maybe we should have a strategy that uses the full namespace name, but replaces slashes with dashes or something like that. And then if somebody does want to artisanally craft some, replacement rules, they can always go in and effectively use that function to do an additional mapping to whatever they want to map to. How do people feel about that?
So am I understanding right? Are you thinking that there's a part there you sort of touched on the break the glass option would eventually come through the Starlark function option? And at that point, overrides would be redundant?
I'm saying, I don't know if I got what you just said right, but I'm saying instead of implementing overrides, we'll forget about it because it is pretty, I don't know, it's not crystal clear with all kinds of matchers and whatever, what would match what, right? And instead of doing that, because at least in my opinion, overrides is not a common case, right? Instead of supporting that less common case via overrides, we just rely or have those people rely on a function to do the mapping. So no overrides, just the function for any kind of advanced functionality.
And when you say function,
bet-
that's the Starlark function option.
Yeah, what Joao has highlighted this stuff, yeah.
Okay.
And my bet is that most people will never write a function like that. They just use a strategy, and the strategy does the smart thing. Because again, if they're importing all kinds of a lot of stuff, right, there's no time for sitting there and artisanally crafting overrides.
Yeah, I just to kind of properly frame it in my own head, I don't see that somebody's going to artisanally craft these things, but what they might do is write a script that takes some output and they write the overrides in their script because the strategy that's provided by the tool doesn't give it to them. So I'm not saying that's what people should do, but I'm saying I think it would mischaracterizes like the mechanism a little bit.
So if going with that, then if they're writing a script, then I would then argue that overrides is really a replacement strategy, as in like, forget about word strategy. I didn't mean that strategy. I mean, it's just should be a dumb replacement, and it should not bother with all kinds of advanced matching of like only match by the repo name or whatever. It should just be like, here's the full string, use this other string. I think, I guess my gripe with overrides is adding functionality like image repo, like pretty much what we have in kbuild. I think it's way too complicated for what we're trying to fix here. And I don't know, I'm not even a big fan of that functionality in kbuild, but I just haven't seen better alternatives. But I don't believe that we need that level of matching in this project.
All right, so then if I think about it in terms of like from the implementation angle, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to scroll down to that section on implementation. So the first release we said was going to be implement tag preservation, and then do the single repository and relative to registry keep namespace. And that I hear what you're saying, Dimitri, is can we please, at the very least, defer implementing overrides? Let's see what that first, that's not the word you used, but like, at the very least, let's not necessarily include that as it has to go with these other strategies. Like we're just implementing the second strategy of relative to registry keep namespace, whatever that ultimately becomes name-wise. Implement that and then see where we're at. Maybe that's good enough. Get feedback from the community.
Well, I haven't really taken a detailed look at the implementation section. I don't know, maybe it's changed. Implementing strategies is very cheap, right? We're just mangling up a string, right? It's like a few lines of code. So I don't actually see a reason why we wouldn't want to just implement all of the strategies that we describe in this document all in one shot. Maybe even as part of the same issue. I don't know. Like I don't think it's it's an implementation complexity. And yeah, maybe we'll wait at that point and then see if we need to add the function. But I guess I am polling for here. I don't believe we need overrides ever. Even if somebody comes in and says, hey, I'd like to replace this thing with that thing, there wouldn't be any reason for why they couldn't write a little function that's a few lines long that does that. And arguably, like, I don't think we should be encouraging people to write custom overrides and whatnot, right? Because images do change over time, right? And so if the kind of one of the original premises to all of this is that, hey, people want some maybe more readable names. Well, you do get the readable name.
So like the implementation, I think we came up in time, but like the implementation proposal here, it's just very high level. And like there's a first part that is some pre-work that needs to be done. And that's what I call MVP 0, like phase 0 here. And then there's an MVP 1 that I believe that will be ready to deliver this to users that implements just the strategies. And the overrides is part of the phase 2, MVP 2. That is just like that part that if we can agree that we might not implement this MVP 2. And then there are 2 more MVPs, like there's like a final MVP that I called it here that is adding this, the more complex mapping, that is the YTT function. And then I added another one that would be optional that's like add extra strategies. So in the end, like that separation is already built in and we can stop on any MVP and say like, okay, we stop here and see like, is this good enough for us for what we have? Do we need to go further or not? So like, that's more or less not trying to be prescriptive. This is more or less like the idea of how I think this could be implemented in phase-wise. So we came up on time. Is there any other feedback that people have?
I left a few new comments in the proposal.
Now we've had conversations around like error cases. I wonder if we feel like the dry run piece is sufficient to kind of talk about that. Or if we wanted to say more like what happens when we're in the middle of a copy and it fails. I don't know if that's something we want to cover here.
So the dry run in itself, it's not able to like know if something is going to work or not. The only thing that it can do is show the user what image package will try to do. So it will try to copy this image to this place, and it will have this name. That's the extent of what we can do with the current APIs that exist in the OCI registry. So like that's that. And in the if something happens while the copy is being done, at this point, that's like the same behavior we currently have in image package. Like if something happens, image package fails, and some things will be in the registry, in the final registry, some things will not. But we cannot do things like delete images that were there, because were we the ones that put the image there? Was the blob already there? So like there's a lot of things that come into play in this and that situation. So I think because of that, it's not new behavior. So I don't think we kind of require to call it out here. But unless you all think that it is relevant, then in that case we can add the section talking about error cases.
Now that makes sense. Like the fact that it's not new behavior. Like, yeah, we're just trying to solve this one particular problem of like more human-friendly names. Cool.
Awesome. There was like another one thing that like the piece of feedback that we got from this proposal. It was to change a little bit the way the strategies are defined, but since we are out of time, I'll just read through this HackMD, and eventually we can discuss this maybe via Slack or something and try to get some feedback. So this is like a different way of doing the strategy, where instead of you putting like the full name of the strategy, you say like, I want to keep namespaces, and then, for example, you have another variable that says like, oh, but by the way, prepend the bundle. Okay, so like this, I don't think it's bundle name that we're gonna put there, but maybe like prepend the bundle namespace, right? So like instead of having the strategies that keeps the bundle names, we have two different strategies: one to keep the bundle namespace plus the image namespace. In this case, it just smushes the two with the flag. So that's another option. But maybe I'll create a Slack in thread, a thread in Slack for us to maybe discuss this a little bit. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate you doing the effort to do the renaming, having our terms defined and using them that way consistently really helped out a lot. So I know that wasn't a simple thing. Thank you.
Welcome. And I think like some of the parts of the renaming, like if we really consider the removal of the overrides, I think the majority of the problems and to understand like in this naming is on the override part. So if we really decide that we don't want the overrides, then in that case, the majority of the problems that we had are kind of solved by not having them.
I think these do inform, like, as we're trying to nail down actual strategy names, or like a final set of like strategy names that like this can be really helpful. So anyway, but I hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone for joining this week's edition of the Carvel Office Hours. If you're watching this recording from home, I do encourage you to go and read over the proposal. If you have any feedback you wish to share with the maintainers, you can either add your comments on the proposal directly or join the Carvel Slack channel within the Kubernetes workspace. And all the maintainers are on that workspace, and you can provide feedback there as well. We certainly welcome the engagement and to hear from the community on this proposal and anything else you wish to share about Carvel. And also, if you want to join us live next time, we do meet every second and fourth Thursday of the month for Carvel office hours at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you aren't able to make those work, we do meet every Monday for a community meeting at the same time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we hope you have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.